AITAH if I call off my engagement because of a comment my fiancé made about my late wife? I am not the original poster. That is you, Vast Ad 5383. He posted in our AITAH. Mood spoiler. Sad. But probably best. Less than. Original post. October 13th, 2023. For some background info, I, 43 meters, have 2 children with my late wife Kayla. Sam, 21 meters, and Liz, 16F. All fake names. Kayla passed away when our kids were 15 and 10. I won't give specifics about how she passed, but she was struck by a drunk driver when she was on her way home from work. She really was the love of my life, and to say that her passing hit our family hard would be an understatement. I promised myself that if I got back into the dating game I wouldn't date anyone for at least a couple years for the sake of my kids. 3 years after my wife's passing, I met my now fiancé. We'll call her Amanda. Things went slow and I didn't introduce her to my kids until we had been dating for about a year at that point. Now we've been together for 3 years and are engaged. Amanda and my kids have always had a good relationship. Neither of my kids are super close to her, but they have always been friendly and welcoming to her. And Amanda has never overstepped any boundaries my kids have, like trying to replace their mother. At the beginning of Amanda and I's relationship, she was a bit insecure of the fact that I was a widower. During the first few months of us dating, she would constantly ask things like, if Kayla had never passed, would I still be with her right now? I always kept my answers brief, and told her that I didn't like thinking about the what ifs, and that she was the one I was dating now, and that was what mattered. Eventually she stopped making these comments and I stopped worrying about it. Now to the issue. My parents were hosting a family dinner to celebrate my fiancé and I's engagement. It was my mom and dad, my late wife's sister and her husband, Sam and Liz, and me and Amanda. Dinner was going well. We were all making small talk with each other and talked about wedding plans. About halfway into dinner my mom made a comment about how she was so happy I was able to find the spark I had with Kayla in someone else. I don't think anybody really paid much attention to the comment, but then Amanda laughed and said, I'm happy she died. Otherwise I would have never gotten him to myself. The tone of the dinner immediately shifted and everyone got extremely tense, especially my kids. Amanda noticed the shift and started awkwardly laughing like she was trying to play her comment off as a joke. I was honestly just frozen, as that was the first time she had made a comment like that. My kids looked disgusted and Liz got up and walked out to the car. Sam waited a bit longer like he wanted me to say something, but I was still in shock about what Amanda had said. To make a long story about the dinner short, the dinner was kind of ruined. So I said my goodbyes to everyone, grabbed my fiancé and we all drove home. My daughter hasn't spoken to me or Amanda since, and it's been 3 days. I got tired of it and pulled my son aside to ask him what I should do. He said something along the lines of, I'm a grown man and don't care who another grown man marries. But I don't want a woman who speaks like that about our mother around my sister. Sam's comment stuck with me, and now I'm considering calling off the engagement entirely. She's never made comments like this before, but I'm worried if I let it slide this one time, it will become more frequent and it will affect my daughter. I need some advice from outside perspectives and just want to do right by my kids. WIBTAH if I called off the engagement because of the comment she made? Edit. Wow, I didn't expect to get this much advice so shortly after posting this. Nonetheless, thank all of you for the advice and even the people calling me a bad father. I think your guys' words are what I needed to pull my head out my ass. I will try to talk to my kids alone tonight before speaking with my fiancé, and we'll see where it goes from here. I'm pretty sure my fiancé and I are over though. I'll update late tonight or tomorrow on how the talks with everyone goes. Thank all of you again for setting my head straight. Edit number 2. I tried posting my update on here, but this post wouldn't allow it. I've made a separate post for the update for those interested. Update post. October 14th, 2023. Next day. This is an update post for those who have read my initial post asking for advice. Update. I promised I would update everyone after I had talked to my kids, so here is the update. It's kind of long, so I hope that doesn't go against the rules of this community. I'm also gonna use this update as a way to clarify some of the questions people were asking in the comments. 1. Did my fiancé apologize to anyone at the dinner party? No, she didn't. I honestly don't think it even registered or has registered to her that what she said was wrong. Point 2. Does fiancé have social anxiety? Not to my knowledge, no. In all the time I've known her, she's never shown any signs of social anxiety and doesn't have a history of it. Point 3. How old was my late wife? She was 37 when she passed and we were the same age. Amanda is 41. A lot of people were asking for clarification on the time frame of her passing and when my fiancé and I met. At this point in time, Kayla has been gone for about 6 years and I met Amanda roughly 3 years after Kayla's passing. I didn't mention either of their ages as I didn't believe it was important because we're so close in age, but I understand why a lot of you guys would want to know. Now that I've clarified the things I was most asked about in the comments, we can get into the update. While I'm writing this update, it's the day after I talked to my kids. So last night at around 5:30 my fiancé left for work. She works nights most days of the week, so I was able to call my son and ask if he could come over so I can talk to him and his sister. He goes to our local college and lives in an apartment near his school. When he started college he wanted to move out but also wanted to stay close to us, so he settled on an apartment a few blocks away from the college. He came over and I called him and his sister into the living room to talk with the both of them. When they were both seated, I told them point blank that I didn't think the wedding was happening anymore, and that the comment she made was unacceptable. I then, by the advice of the comments, apologized to them. I told them I was sorry for not saying anything for so long and letting the tension thicken in our home. I told my daughter that I understood why she hasn't spoken to me and that I was sorry for allowing her to think that I was even remotely okay with what she said. I felt pretty spineless after we had gotten back from dinner that night, so I wanted to do everything in my power to make it right with my kids during the conversation. My daughter told me that she felt disgusted at the comment Amanda made, and even more so when I didn't defend her mother. She then told me that the past 2 years that she's known Amanda, she felt like she's been gradually trying to push her and Sam away from me. One of the examples Liz gave was when my son moved out. He moved out when he was about to start his sophomore year of college. And when he mentioned the idea of moving out, Amanda was the one who took that and ran with it. According to Liz, Amanda was the one encouraging Sam the most to move out. To be clear, I was never against Sam moving out, but I was clear to him he was welcome to live at home for his college years and even after, until he found where he wanted to be. I asked Sam if he felt pushed out by Amanda, and if that's why he moved out. He said he hadn't felt pushed out before he told everyone he wanted to move. But after he put it out there, my fiancé kept pushing for him to move out. Liz cut in and said that every time she brings up college, Amanda keeps encouraging her to go out of state. Liz doesn't plan on going out of state, and she's been open about wanting to go to the college Sam is attending right now. Liz said she feels like Amanda is waiting till she graduates high school and goes to college so she can move out. A lot of the comments were right about the subtle comments eventually turning into Amanda wanting my kids pushed away from me. Liz said that she was scared that by the time I eventually noticed the way Amanda was acting, too big of a wedge would have already been driven between me and them. I told my kids that I'm sorry it's taken me this long to notice, and that I was also sorry they've been walking on eggshells for so long. I hugged my kids and told them no matter what, they are my top priority, not Amanda or anybody else. A lot of comments pointed out that even though my son is grown, he still needs his father. And I made sure to let my son know that I will always be there for him and his sister even when they are well grown. The entire conversation lasted about 2 hours. We covered a lot of the bases we wanted to, and it got emotional on all sides. In short, Amanda and I are done. I've made it a point to tell my kids that none of this situation is their fault, and that Amanda is the grown woman who said what she said. My kids and I are okay right now, but they aren't 100% with me and probably won't be for a while. I'm completely fine with that and just want my kids comfortable in their own home. Amanda has tomorrow off from work, so I plan on talking to her tomorrow. I also plan on calling my mother to ask her why she thought it was okay to even bring up Kayla at the dinner. I don't want my daughter here when it all goes down, so she's staying tonight and tomorrow night with Sam. So that's where I'm at right now. Not super happy about the outcome of me and Amanda, but would rather have my kids happy and healthy than have a wife. Again, thank you everyone for the advice and the harsh words. I'll update after I call it off with Amanda. Thank you everyone. Edit. I posted the new update you guys have been waiting for. It's been a long day, but I still want to keep everyone posted on the situation, as you guys have been incredible in helping me through my situation. So it only feels fair to give you guys the update you've been waiting for. Update post 2, October 15th, 2023. 2 days from OG post. Okay everyone, here's the update you guys were waiting for. Again, this is a long post, even longer than the last update, and I suggest reading my previous posts if you haven't, for the context of this situation. So where we last left off is my kids and I talked, made up, and my daughter is staying with her brother so she doesn't get caught up in what was about to happen with my now ex-fiancé. Before the hard part of the day, breaking it off with Amanda, I made a call to my mom to let her know of the situation. A lot of the comments told me to not bash my mom for the comment she made. Now thinking back on the situation with a clear mind, the comment my mother made towards Amanda was most definitely a compliment towards her. And that was confirmed in the call I had with her. My mother, bless her heart, felt extremely guilty for the entire situation. She fully believed the situation all stemmed from her one comment. I assured her that none of the situation was her fault and that I've never blamed her one bit for any of this. We talked a bit more before I let her go. The call ended at about 9:15 a.m. and I was left waiting for Amanda to wake up. She woke up at around 10:30 a.m. and I didn't want to ambush her straight after she woke up. So I waited until about 11:10 a.m. to sit her down and talk. A lot of people in the comments suggested to secretly video the whole thing. I thought that was extremely smart, so I had my phone set to record in my back pocket the entire time. I didn't think she'd try to do anything drastic, but I would rather be safe than sorry. The talk with her went about as well as anyone could imagine. So not at all. I told her I needed to talk with her, that it was serious, and we sat in the living room. When we were seated, I began unloading at her about the comment she made about Kayla at my parents' house. How it made my kids feel. How it made me feel. Her lack of an apology, of any sort of acknowledgement to what she said, and so on. I told her I expect her to give an apology to my parents, my in-laws, and most importantly, my kids. During the entire time of me unloading on her, she didn't seem to show any bit of emotion other than her eyes. which were slightly wider than normal. After I spoke my truth, she straight up asked, "So if I apologize to everyone, we'll go back to normal?" Quote, I told her point blank, no. I told her that the comment she made at dinner was not the extent of my problems with her. I then told her that I know she heavily pressured Sam to move out when he wasn't even sure if he wanted to at that point in time, and that I also know she is now trying to do the same with Liz. I did my absolute best to leave my kids out of the situation, but told Amanda that the way my kids described her treatment towards them was the main reason I don't see a future with her anymore. Amanda was stone-faced up until I told her we were done. I think that's when the panic set in for her. She kept saying that she'll apologize to everyone, that she'll make it right with my kids. ECT. I told her that if she apologizes, I will certainly appreciate it, but we were still done either way. She was full on crying at this point and asked me, why wasn't I willing to try and fix our relationship? And I told her that even though I loved her, and I will be honest, I still love her very much, I was not willing to take another chance of my kids being hurt against the way they were. I was frustrated and shot back at her, asking her why she was trying to push my kids out of their own home, and I got back an answer I was not at all expecting. I was completely shocked at her response. But a lot of you guys won't be. A lot of commenters actually hit the nail right on the head with what Amanda was truly like. Amanda responded with, "Well, I didn't know you expected me to house somebody else's kids for the rest of my life." I immediately saw red, and after about a minute I told her get out. I told her that my kids can go wherever they damn please, especially in the house that I own and pay for. She tried to retaliate, but in the end ended up pack a few bags and going to stay with one her friends. I emailed a copy of the phone recording to myself. The talk only lasted about 25 minutes. Not nearly as long as the talk I had with my kids. So if anything ends up coming of the conversation, I have all I'd need to keep my name clear. I've texted my kids that Amanda is out of the house for good, that they are welcome to come home anytime, and let my son know that if he wants to, he is more than welcome to move back in completely. My daughter is coming back from her brother's place in the afternoon, and I still have phone calls to make to my parents and in-laws to apologize for this mess of a situation. Amanda is out of my house but keeps blowing up my phone for us to try to work things out. I'll let her come by in the next few days so she can collect the rest of her stuff out of my house. But she is not welcome to live here again. I'll be honest and say that I am a bit devastated. Despite everything Amanda did, I still love her, and I probably won't stop loving her for a minute. But I'll be okay. Right now I just want to focus on the family that needs me. And will use this situation as an excuse to bond more with my kids. Another big thank you to everyone who helped me in the comments. A lot of the advice you guys gave played a part in making things right with my family. I will update if anything else big or important happens, but as of now I'm taking it one step at a time and making it right with my family. WTF is she talking about having to house someone else's kids? Firstly, they're living in his house, so she's not housing anyone. And secondly, and far more importantly, they're not someone else's kids, they're her fiancé's kids. His late wife didn't make them all by herself and then bequeathed the responsibility to him on her death. If you don't want someone else's kids in your life for the rest of your life, don't get involved with someone who has children. She's jealous and competing with a dead woman for no reason. But that comment about being expected to house them also has gold digger vibes. It feels like she thinks all his assets should be at her disposal. And as I type that, I realize I mean emotional assets as well as financial. No amount of forgiveness for Amanda can be done with the way she acted. Especially when she said she is glad the ex has died and saying someone else's kids and also tried to ruin the family. Those are things that are highly unforgivable and just plainly wrong. All aside, Op is strong and a good parent for putting his children as priority. I hope nothing terrible comes next and Op and the children will have a good future. You know, my little sister passed away from cancer 8 years ago. My Bill managed their 3 teenaged boys by himself. And they're all out of college now and living their adult lives. About 2 years ago, he began seeing a lovely woman who had several teens of her own. She's been absolutely wonderful. They live together now. And there are plenty of photos of my late sister around the house. She's great with the boys and has just been a joy to get to know, as have her children. And while nobody could ever replace my amazing sister, I am so happy my Bill has found happiness again. He announced that they recently got engaged. I can't imagine what I'd say if he'd chosen a woman like OOP's ex-fiancé. But I promise you it wouldn't have been very nice. I said before and I'll say it again. If raising someone else's kids was such a problem, why the hell would you get together with someone who has kids? Well, I didn't know you expected me to house somebody else's kids for the rest of my life. Wow. Yep. As soon as that was said, it's done, it's over. You don't get into a relationship with someone who has kids and think they will cut them out for the new relationship. My mother-in-law died 2 years ago when my husband was 29. It was and still is horrible. My father-in-law started dating his new girlfriend about 11 months ago and she has never said anything about my mill or tried to insert herself in my husband or his sister's life. The dynamics are different of course since they are adults, but we didn't even meet the new GF until this summer and she's been super respectful and has let my husband and his sister lead how we meet up and facilitate the relationship. Yay, we all saw that coming from a mic away. All things considered, I think OOP had the proper response to the situation. Having a bit of a deer in the headlights reaction to the dinner comments I think is a perfectly human response. But his swift response to stand up for his children and the whole situation once he got shaken out of it I think speaks well of him. What? Someone else's kids? When you marry a man with kids you support the man, which means supporting the kids. That's how it works. I can't understand anybody who doesn't see it that way. But she actually gave that as her answer like it made total sense to her. Let's not forget this followed up the totally straight-faced comment that she is glad their mother and his wife died so she could have him all to herself. Glad she died. Like zero empathy or sentimentality. Like yikes. Just scary, cold and unaware. If you date someone who has kids, those aren't just someone else's kids, those are your partner's kids. So they're your family too. Her actions show so little empathy or love for anyone but herself. Glad you took the steps necessary to prioritize your children. Anyone who would call their partner's children someone else's kids is frankly a monster. OOP is a good dad. I did feel a little bad that his deer in the headlights moment, which as someone who gets them a lot, it takes a while for your brain to kickstart again and truly process what the hell was said, was seen to his kids as him being fine with what ex-fiancé said and not defending their mum. Instead of him, you know, blue screening because he needs to process the fact THST the person he thought he was going to spend the rest of his life with has just bombed that reality by saying what she did. I get why they were thinking that. From their POV this is how it probably looked to them at the time. But hopefully now they know that not for a second was their dad alright with what X said. And whatever anger they might have had towards him can now be released into the force. I've been widowed and this makes my blood boil. Horrible woman is horrible about widower's late wife, sure seems to be a popular topic round Reddit these days. This reminds me of the fiancé who didn't want OP's daughter in the wedding. Because her plan was that after the wedding OP, who had joint custody, would become a holiday-only dad. So the fiancé didn't want the daughter to be in any of the wedding photos. When she confessed that, OP pulled the engagement ring off her finger. And after she told him that, she and her mom still thought the relationship could be fixed. It's like the Baroness from The Sound of Music planning to send all the kids to boarding school after the wedding. Why do people with no interest in children want to be in a relationship with someone who is an involved parent? I'll never understand that. His kids were so kind considering what was said at that dinner table. I promise you, if I had heard something so vile come out of my stepmom-to-be's mouth, I would have reached across the table and slapped her so hard her teeth would rattle. Not even joking. I straight up would have been okay going to prison over a comment like that. Holy shit. I dunno. People are praising OP for taking such swift action etc. etc. But he created an environment where his kids didn't feel they could come to him with these issues. And where his daughter learned the silent treatment. Both are unhealthy forms of communication. And I don't blame the kids at all. These are learned behaviors from the parents, guardians, caretakers. This stuff has been happening over the course of a few years right under OP's nose and OP turned a blind eye to it, was oblivious. Biggest issue is he let it blow up to this point. Some people aren't able to love kids that they didn't birth. I think that's part of her problem. Some aren't able to share a loved one. They need all the love coming just to them. Also part of her problem. But saying, in front of him, his kids, and his ILS that she's glad his wife died so she can have him to herself? That's like throwing a grenade in the room and being surprised that it destroyed your life. Is she just that obtuse? Glad your daughter, your sister, your wife died so I can have him myself? And she refused to even acknowledge the mistake. To apologize. He's better off without her. She's incapable of compassion or love. Good riddance. During the first few months of his dating she would constantly ask things like, if Kayla had never passed, would I still be with her right now? What kind of a question even is that? Like, no, lady, probably not. Would she have felt better if the wife was alive and they were simply divorced? I get the question from an anxiety perspective because it's not logical. But dang, those are thoughts you keep to yourself. This feels as though it were all written by a teen girl. I didn't think you expected me to house someone else's kids in your house that you pay for, who are actually your kids. Lol. Okay.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. AITAH is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.